I'm getting married to someone who works under me. Let's get a divorce."
Along with these words, David slammed a divorce application filled out completely on the desk.
"Ever since you had our son, you haven't been as attractive or put in any effort. Huh, I'm fed up with you."
Fine, but just so you know, I will definitely be claiming for compensation. So you better prepare yourself. In response, I argued back to my husband. He didn't like what I said and snorted in response.
"You're such a greedy woman. You can't even raise our son by yourself, so don't get all arrogant."
Say what you want, but I have every right to child support and compensation. I'm not the bad one here. It's all on you. My name is Jenny. I'm a housewife in my 30s, raising a middle school son, James. I've been married to David, who is 3 years older than me for 15 years. We both work at the same company, and our involvement began when he became my mentor. We've worked in the same department ever since. We used to be mentor and mentee, but now we barely chat at work. We have both climbed the career ladder and hold respectable positions. Yet I still sometimes think, perhaps foolishly, that it must have been fate that brought my husband and me together.
Jenny, I finished the documents you asked for.
Already? That was quick, Susan. I'm in charge and have my own team now, and there's one person in particular that I really like. Her name is Susan. She's quite skilled at her job, and she's 10 years younger than me. Even though she's really talented, she's not one to show off. Okay, thanks. Next, I'd like you to work on this.
Yes, ma'am.
When there's time, we have lunch together. If she's having a rough day, I often take her out for drinks after work to listen to her complaints. Despite our age difference, I even consider her a close friend. One day, an incident happened. That day, I finished my work ahead of schedule and left work at the normal time for the first time in a while.
"I'll be late today."
What about dinner?
"Don't worry about it."
While my husband was busy with work and wouldn't be home for dinner, I felt a bit lonely, but it wasn't particularly unusual. So I left the office without much thought. But upon reaching the train station, shoot, I forgot my phone. I realized I had left my smartphone at the office. Normally, I could have asked my husband, who should still be working overtime, to bring it to me. But unfortunately, I forgot my phone. With no way to reach out to anyone, I had to go back to get my phone. Although it means catching a few later trains, I decided to go back to the office.
"Jenny, didn't you leave earlier?"
Phil, actually, I forgot my smartphone. It was late, and not many people were left at the office. Strangely, my husband wasn't there either.
That's unfortunate. But what a perfect timing. Can you take this with you?
Is this my husband's train card?
Yeah, I found it lying around. David left earlier. He'll need it tomorrow morning.
I see. Thank you. It looked like my husband had more availability at work all of a sudden. I checked my smartphone, but there were no messages from him. Changes at work happen all the time. Often my husband runs out of battery on his phone, so perhaps that was why he hadn't contacted me today. With this in mind, I decided to head straight home with our forgotten things. If my husband had returned, I would have to prepare dinner. As I walked home, I planned our meal based on what was in the fridge.
Mom, welcome home.
I'm home. Sorry I'm late. I'll make dinner right away. But when I got home, my husband still hadn't returned. I checked my phone again, but still no messages. Where could he have gone? With curiosity growing, I began preparing dinner. Time really doesn't wait around. As a skilled housewife, I prepare a decent meal that looked presentable. Still, by the time we finished eating, my husband had not returned home. He's late, isn't he?
Huh?
As I finished cleaning up and relaxed with a cup of coffee, words unexpectedly slipped out of my mouth. I accidentally said something I didn't mean to. But then James said something unexpected.
Isn't Dad out cheating again today?
What? Taken aback by my son's unexpected remark, he showed a regretful expression. Looking embarrassed, he continued his words.
Mom, did you not realize?
What do you mean? Apparently, my son knew something I wasn't aware of. I then heard the details from him, reluctantly at first. It was pretty much as I had expected.
I guess it's a guy's intuition. One of my classmates got a girlfriend and started acting all excited, just like Dad. So I thought maybe that's what it was.
I see.
I thought you knew. Dad had been obviously secretive lately.
Reflecting on his words, I thought about our situation. Our company isn't exactly a toxic company, but it often requires overtime. I had never questioned why my husband came home late from work. But that was probably just me turning a blind eye. Thinking about it, there were times I smelled an unfamiliar scent on his suit when he came home late claiming overtime. I sighed and gathered my thoughts. With so many suspicions now, I couldn't continue living as before. Plus, I didn't want my son to keep carrying the weight of knowing about his dad cheating. James looked very awkward when he told me about it. Thank you for telling me. I'll leave the rest to me. Afterwards, I boldly decided to hire a detective agency. After some time, the investigation results came back showing that my husband was actually cheating on me. And I was definitely shocked when I found out who his mistress was. You are kidding, right? I couldn't help but burst into laughter. My husband's affair partner was none other than Suzanne, my team member I had been fond of. To think they had been in a relationship for 6 years was astonishing. What was going through her head when I was showing her the ropes? Was she mocking me of being all intimate with my husband? The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Revenge. These words vividly came to my mind.
We need to talk.
One day as I was plotting my revenge, my husband initiated a conversation.
I'm getting married to someone who works under me. Let's get a divorce.
At the same time, he slammed a fully completed divorce application on the desk. He must have asked a friend to help.
Ever since you had our son, you haven't been as attractive or put in any effort. I'm fed up with you.
All right, I see.
Huh? You're not surprised about what's happening here? Or are you actually happy that I'm the one asking for a divorce?
I didn't say that, but I'm not just going to accept what you've done. I will definitely demand compensation, so be prepared for that. I had no hesitation about divorcing David, but if I just accepted smoothly, it would only satisfy him. I deliberately spoke provocatively. Just as I guessed, he snorted and his face got all twisted and grumpy. My love for him totally faded away.
Ugh, you're such a greedy woman. You can't even raise our son by yourself, so don't get all arrogant.
Say what you want, but I have every right to child support and compensation. I'm not the bad one here, it's all on you.
You're always so resistant. Well, whatever. Just make sure to sign those papers and submit them.
Having said his piece, he seemed satisfied. After striking the desk with the divorce papers a few times, he left our home, probably heading to Susan's. As he checked his smartphone casually, his expression slightly softened. Whatever he does now, he's just a stranger to me, and I couldn't care less. The next day, as I arrived at work, Susan ran up to me as usual.
Hi, ma'am.
Susan. She greeted me with her usual smile. I tried to respond as usual, but my lips twitched involuntarily. However, she didn't intend to keep up the act either. Upon approaching me, she withdrew her likable smile and sneered smugly.
David finally told you about us, huh? Sorry for taking your husband.
You.
Don't make a scene, please. It would be so awkward at work. Don't be a total loser, old lady.
Whispering provocatively in my ear, the scent of her perfume was the same one I had smelled from my husband. It was obviously intentional. But showing my emotions would be playing right into her hands. I kept my cool and responded. I won't do such things, but legally I will be making several claims against you.
David mentioned that. You're really greedy, aren't you? Doesn't it make you feel bad to have to ask for money from a good team member like me?
Not at all. Now, shouldn't you be working? You have tasks to do today, don't you?
You're terrible.
Susan couldn't handle what I said and got all mad. She's still a bit immature, I guess. Left behind were me and the stares of those around us. Following their gazes, there was my husband. He was looking at Susan with concern, as if she were the victim. I thought, does he think I'm bullying her? Absolutely ridiculous. I let out a deep sigh. Does David really see her as such an honest girl? If that's how it is, he doesn't have good judgment. He should learn more about women's feelings. That mean girl Susan needs to learn a thing or two about the real world for women, and I'm going to be the one to show her. The following week, I arrived at work early and was already busy when David showed up.
Good morning?
Since the day he left home with his carry-on bag, this was the first time David talked to me. When he entered the office, he had a fresh Monday morning look. However, as he stepped onto the floor with a formal greeting, he was met with intense stares from everyone present. Caught off guard by this unexpected reception, David voiced his confusion.
Good morning.
Unfortunately, right behind David, Susan appeared. Perhaps they no longer care about hiding it. The two of them were met with increasingly cold stares by other people. Even they must have felt it, as they looked troubled when getting to their seats.
Hey, Jenny. I hope you didn't spread any rumors about us. That would be defamation, you know.
I don't know what you're talking about. If it bothers you, why don't you ask around?
Excuse me?
Susan tried to throw a sarcastic comment my way, but I ignored it. Responding with equal sarcasm, she distorted her pretty face and began typing forcefully on her keyboard.
Excuse me, I need your signature on this document.
Yes. Here you go.
Thank you. By the way, I wanted to ask you something.
Sorry. I have another appointment, so we'll talk later, okay?
Realizing she wasn't going to get anything from me, Susan then shifted her target to other colleagues, including Phil. But everyone ignored her, just as I did. The same went for David. The two were shunned by everyone at work. The only conversations they had were the bare minimum for work. If anyone tried to make small talk, they found an excuse to escape.
Hey, you're not very nice.
What are you talking about?
Playing dumb, huh? You must have done something.
Oh, I don't know what you mean. Instead of blaming others, why don't you reflect on your own actions? David tried to confront me, but I had nothing to say to him. Eventually, The two of them felt so uncomfortable that they quickly left the office as soon as lunch break began.
Those two looked pretty upset.
After the two left the office, Phil, holding a coffee, spoke to me as if to say, "Well done." "Phil, I'm sorry about this."
It's fine. But are you okay? Is it hard to work?
So far so good. I'm not the type to get upset over this.
You're amazing, Jenny.
Phil laughed, pleased with my response. Then he glanced briefly at their desks.
It's so lame how they just run away when things get tough instead of facing it.
Exactly. Thank you, Phil. You're the one who spread their rumor, aren't you?
Huh? No. I just told that chatty lady about how my amazing coworker Jenny was crying because of David and Susan. She's the one who blabbed it everywhere.
You knew exactly what would happen if you told her. We finished the day by having a fancy Italian dinner with Phil and the chatty lady to celebrate our hard work, giggling like partners in crime. Afterwards, David and Susan gradually lost their place at the company. Of course, I filed for divorce and demanded compensation. The chatty lady made the story more interesting as it made its way through the department. But the drama didn't end there.
Why are you pushing your way in here?
One day, a furious man barged into the company. Turns out, he was just another guy Susan was fooling around with.
What's going on? Who is this guy?
Shut up. I haven't forgiven you for the compensation yet. Don't talk to me so casually.
Compensation? So, you had someone else besides me?
If one could describe it, it was a chaotic and hellish scene that unfolded at the company. The raw emotion of the confrontation was unbearable to watch. In the end, the situation escalated to the point where the police had to intervene. Susan quit like she was escaping from the chaos. And then my ex-husband left too, like he was trying to catch up with her. Apparently, he couldn't stand being left alone to face the scrutiny. What a pathetic man.
He's a total loser and doesn't deserve your attention. Mom, you don't need him in your life.
My son was just as uninterested in his dad. Well, that was his way of encouraging me. Now that they're not here, I'm back to work at the company, feeling more motivated. Phil remains the same. With their departure, the workplace atmosphere has dramatically improved. Now, I plan to live a happy life, supporting each other with my son.